Maryland meets Boston College for the first time ever. Next on USA. From Sullivan Stadium in Foxborough, Massachusetts, USA Sports presents College Football 85. Today, the Terrapins of the University of Maryland take on the Eagles of Boston College. Good afternoon, everyone. Eddie Doucette along with Kyle Rote Jr. And where do you
beginning to get more of a
0-1, but they had a close call last week against Penn State.
Well, if there is a silver lining for Maryland coach Bobby Ross, Eddie, I think it's that he can be frustrated with a lot of his key players because they made the mistakes as well. True, Paredes missed 2 field goal attempts, but Eric Holder missed the first down pass that would hit him right in the hands. Alvin Blunt had a first down reception that he went ahead and fumbled. And the offensive line allowed Stan Gelbaugh to be sacked for the first 2 times in his career.
Quite a cast they have here at Maryland, and right in the middle of the whole thing is Iron Man fullback Rick Badanic. Deep thigh bruise, though. Will he be able to play today?
Oh, I'm sure he will. The good news, bad news with Rick is that he played last year 5 games with a partially separated shoulder. Also good news, I think, for Rick is that he's got those 4 big players in front of him, all of whom should become NFL players next year.
But what a test they'll have against BC's defensive rush. But let's take a look at Coach Bobby Ross's Maryland Terrapins. Not a bad club for 85.
Maryland quarterback Stan Gelbaugh is one of the Terrapins' team leaders, and he knows he must pull himself up by the bootstraps following the tough loss to Penn State last week. And running back Alvin Blunt, who gained 84 yards against the Nittany Lions, must help fill the void with Rick Badanic nursing a thigh bruise from last week's game. Emerging as a key receiver is the Ziz, a receiving whiz, really, Abdul Raouf. Good hands, great mobility. He could be their big play man this season. And those big strides pick up big yardage. Defensively, linebacker Chuck Fawcett has that knack for being where he's needed at the right time. He hits hard, and yet he's agile enough to roam the passing lanes. You gotta like him.
Coach Jack Bicknell's Eagles are 1-1 so far this year. His weakness is the defensive secondary and the kicking game. We'll establish both those later on. He's got some strengths, though, and Mike Ruth is right in the middle of that. Now, when you talk about Shawn Halloran, their quarterback, he will have to be at his very best today in the absence of ace running back Troy Stradford out with a hamstring pull.
Really going to have to play without making any major mistakes, and unfortunately for him, the offense that Doug Flutie left behind is a very complicated one that's difficult for anybody to understand. There are a lot of key players left for Boston College, though, even with Flutie being gone. Let's take a look.
For Boston College quarterback Shawn Halloran, 1985 is a year of opportunity. The departure of Doug Flutie has allowed him to pilot the Eagle offense, and each game has seen him improve. Tight end Scott Gieselman is a remnant from the Flutie era. His soft hands and hard running make him Halloran's #1 target. Turn the Eagle spotlight on fullback Ken Bell. An injury to star tailback Troy Stradford makes Bell the main man to carry the BC running game. Another Flutie, Brother Darren, will help fill Stradford's void. A receiver by trade, a tailback when necessary. BC spells defense R-U-T-H. No single blocker can contain the fury of nose guard Mike Ruth. His strength and agility make him a legitimate Outland Trophy candidate. Coach Jack Bicknell recently expressed some frustrated confidence.
I really feel like this is going to be a good football team if they don't drive me nuts first.
Well, perhaps the days of the close to 500 yards in total offense are gone, at least temporarily. But Coach Jack Bicknell says it's the best talent he's ever had at Boston College. We'll have the kickoff for our exciting game today on USA Sports when we return. College Football 85 is brought to you by the United States Armed Forces. It's a great place to start. By Jeep Comanche, the new truck on the road. It's worth a look. And by Smith Corona Portable, electronic typewriters. This is Sullivan Stadium in Foxborough, Massachusetts. It's an absolutely magnificent day. Temperature about 61 degrees. The wind out of the north at 11 miles per hour. As you can see, sunny and breezy. And Boston College, this is kind of their home away from home. 6-1 here at Sullivan Stadium, but 5-0 in the last 2 years. The only loss came to Notre Dame in 1975, and that was 17-3. Incidentally, Maryland on a roll of their own. The only loss they have had in the last 11 games, 2 of them to Penn State. Can't seem to beat that club.
Well, nor can Boston College for that matter, because their combined total of wins against Penn State in the last few years is only 3. Taking a look at the coin toss.
Introduce Mike Ruth to you fellas. Carl Crowley will be the umpire. Stan Kemp will be the line judge. Gene Steratol will be the back judge. Howard Eckert will be the head linesman, and Joe Shirk will be a field judge. Captain, who's going to call the coin? In the air. If I drop it, we'll play as a lay, but I'm going to catch it. In the air, please. Tails. Tails, he calls. And it is a head. Captain, you've won the toss. You can give your choices now or in the second half. You want to accept the ball at this time. BC wins the toss. They'll receive. What goal do you want to defend? Back to it.
Nice job by the referee today, James Garvey. Introduced at his staff, and of course now the BC Eagles playing in their home maroon, while Maryland and their traveling whites trimmed in red. And for Maryland coming in, Kyle, they can't afford an 0-2 start if they have designs on a national championship. At least that's the way they feel, even though they got off to that kind of a start a year ago and finished 9-3.
Did the same kind of thing in Bobby Ross's first year, and then in the year right after that, we're 1-1 to start out. So they are not a fast starting team, and as we know last year from the games that they had against both Tennessee and against Miami, a great come from behind team, but that's got to be frustrating to Bobby Ross to have to always have that happen. I'm sure he'd like to nurse a lead.
All right, now you see BC huddling on the far side. Number 6, incidentally, is Steve Peach, a backup quarterback and their punter.
And that's Troy Stradford right there, their tailback, who is in street clothes today, and of course that tells us the answer to the question, will he not play? And he will not. And that means that all the responsibility for the tailbacking duties for Boston College are going to fall on Jim Bell, who is really better a runner than he is a receiver, and also Darren Flutie, who moves in from wide receiver to provide some backup there.
Boston College will send back in deep twin safety for Jack Bicknell. Number 30, Tracey Giles, who is a freshman running back, and with him Kelvin Martin. On the left side of your screens, Giles is on the right side. And kicking off will be Ramon Paredes for the Maryland Terrapins. Paredes is a Peruvian and a young man who at only 5'7", 166 pounds, a junior from Virginia, has a very strong leg. And Kyle, having kicked the ball in various sports yourself, you can appreciate the strength that young man's got in that foot of his.
And also he's a walk-on, which adds an additional little bit of pressure to him. And as we mentioned in the open, he missed 2 field goals that could have won the game for Maryland last week, but they didn't blame him.
Wind at his back from the 4. Giles to the 29 and close to the 30-yard line. Louis Askew was there along with Brian Alston. Boston College will start this way offensively with Halloran, Jim Bell a running back for Stratford, Ken Bell the fullback, Gieselman the tight end, Kelvin Martin at a flanker in the split end, Joe Giaquinto. Sean Murphy's come in. There's your offensive line of Regent, Twombly, Gowetski, Wolf, and Trapilo. Big, strong, and they can move some people themselves. Wide tackle, 6 defensively, and a 1st and 10. Halloran to try it right out of the chute. Got a man, Kelvin Martin, up to the 42, back to the 41. Let's see where they give him forward progress. Defensively, with Ted Chapman, a dandy, on the left side. Messner in the middle, all ACC. And the linebackers of Shankweiler, Kelly, Fawcett, and Pettibone. The deep secondary, Covington on the left side, Donald Brown on the right side, and another Covington in the middle. And that is Keita on the left side and Al at the free safety. Giaquinto and Bell have come out of the ball game for BC. Halloran On the give, Kenny Bell fumble. Scott Tye, 6'3", 262-pound, a walk-on defensive tackle has it. First turnover of the ball game, and not good news for BC early.
Four receivers set out to try to fake the defense into thinking they're going to pass, but Ken Bell comes up, 3-year Letterman senior, makes a freshman-like mistake.
All right, Boston College with that front rush led by Mike Ruth. Stan Gelbaugh will be the quarterback. You saw Scott Tye on the sideline cross the way. Stephon Schreiber, one of the running backs, along with Alvin Blunt. They're not starting Bodanik, and another fumble. Ball back at the 46-yard line of Boston College. Started on the 38. Stan Gelbaugh. And let's see it again.
It's pitch play, power pitch to the I-back. And he just looks up trying to read the block before he's able to pick up on the ball. And this early part of the game, Alvin Blunt there, again with the key fumble last week that hurt Maryland in their chance for the last drive to win the game against Penn State.
From the 46, they give it back to the running back. Alvin Blunt. Number 63 up there is Lynn Lynch, one of the co-captains on that front line that averages 6'5", 280. Offensive backs with Gelbaugh, the quarterback. Blunt, Rick Bodanik did not start. He'll be in there. Farrell Edmonds, the tight end. Ziz Abdur-Raouf, the split side, and Eric Holder. Tony Edwards, Lynn Lynch, Amen, Halinka, and Milavelle on their offensive front line. Eric Holder's in. Shawn Sullivan is out. As you run the split backs now. Gelbaugh to pass. Pressure. Mike Ruth was there. And on the screen to the near side, Alvin Blunt. And down inside the 35-yard line.
There's a weakness that the BC defense has. It's not the run, it's the pass, giving up 508 yards to BYU in the opening game, the kickoff classic. Here's them take a look at Mike Ruth. Powerful forearm, and this is nothing new for him. Gets double and triple teamed. That time easily beats the blocking assignments. Gelbaugh on the rollout, a man who has not been sacked too many times, and he gets it off to a single-man screen.
And they're going to bring Ramon Paredes in. Ball is at the 40-yard line. Well, actually at the 33. It'll be kicked. No, fake kick. That's number 12, Dan Henning. And he overthrows his receiver under some big pressure there by Boston College.
Tell you what, Eddie, it was not a fake. It was not set up as a fake. The snap was just bad, and he made the decision that he's going to have to stand up. There were no receivers out there looking for him. And so Dan Henning did the best that he could.
Mike Williams from Boston College gave him the heat. We'll be right back after this. A 50-yard fake kick. Kyle said all the while that that was by design in a third down situation. And we have 12:16 to go here in the first quarter. BC with the ball, 1st and 10 on the 33-yard line. Kelvin Martin stretched to the right side. John Halloran under some big pressure. That was Neal Sampson, one of the defensive tackles coming in. Big kid, 6'3", 262, a junior from New York. So while we talk about BC's rush, I don't think we can look beyond what this big Maryland front line can do also. They gave up less than 70 yards to Penn State, a rushing team last week. Scott Gieselman checks in at tight end. Peter Casparello has come out of there. It'll be a 2nd down, 10. Ball on the 23-yard line, Boston College. Against the wide tackle 6. That's Jim Bell and Chuck Fawcett. Outside backer to the left side was the man that made the hit. There's Jack Bicknell. This is his 50th game coaching Boston College. And what is he doing there, Kyle, with all those hands?
Not any mosquitoes or flies down there, though he did have several of his players stung by bees earlier this week. Just giving those the offensive formation and play call.
So they got 6 on it. 3rd down on the 27-yard line. Double set to the left. Jim Bell. Al Covington, the free safety. And you might take note right now that young Jim Bell was not scheduled to play, but of course the injury to Troy Stradford made it possible for him to get an opportunity. Good straight ahead runner with not too much motion away. Keita Covington has gone back into deep safety on a 4th down. Steve Peach is in to kick. He's the backup quarterback. Ball was at the 37, short kick, and it will roll out of bounds close to the 35 on the 36-yard line of Maryland. So Steve Peach, who's averaging about 39 yards a kick this year, last year a little over 36 yards a kick, and that time on the kick he got 27 yards. And we'll be back to see what Maryland can do with Gelbaugh. No score, 10-26 in the quarter. Eddie Doucette, Kyle Rote Jr. We have no score. Boston College, Maryland, 10-26 to play in the first quarter. Rory Perriman is the defensive back on the near side. Neal Eiton on the far side as Gelbaugh calls the shots for Maryland. Straight drop. And not quite there, intended for Abdur Raouf, who is over there, and run out of bounds by Carl Crushpain.
We saw Gelbaugh in the game last week, near the end of the game, throwing off of his back foot. Not a good way to do that. And again, that pass was a bad duck. We're taking a look at Boston College now, their defensive lineup.
Romanowski, one of the key linebackers, Crushpain, Pellegata, Eiton, and Perriman. And there's the man they may be going at this afternoon. Fine athlete, but very inexperienced. James Milling has come in at a wideout now for Maryland. He replaces Abdur Raouf. Raouf coming off. Raouf is a terrific athlete. And now Eric Holder being helped up. He was the fellow that actually was the intended receiver on that last play. He wears 81, Raouf 87. He appears to be all right. Coming off, however, and Shawn Sullivan will replace him in the Maryland lineup. Sullivan 6'2", 203 pounds from Media, Pennsylvania. Second down, ball on the 36 and the incompleted pass. So Gelbaugh so far is 1 for 2. Overshift the tight end. Farrell Edmonds coming to the near side. Stephon Scriber and Blount, the running backs, out of the eye. Pitch back. That's Blount. And as he turns the corner up over the 40-yard line, Tom Perrell, a backup defensive tackle, pulled him down.
Tommy Neal on the carry, who is on the field with Alvin Blount. They rotate a great deal at that tailback position, and each of them a lot of experience. Real strength of this Maryland Terp team, their backfield.
All right, there's Bobby Ross. Ross has been around quite a while. Pro experience. VMI is where he played his college ball, former quarterback, so he's got a good feel for the game. Third down, ball on the 48-yard line. First quarter, 4 yards to go for a first down. In motion, that's Shawn Sullivan. No double back tight end. Tommy Neal. And very close to the 50-yard line before Chuck Gorecki, the defensive left end, pulled him down. He got 7, he needed 4. It's a first down and 10 for Maryland.
I'm sure many of the Maryland players and fans recall what happened the first 2 possessions last week. 2 interceptions. They're using the groundwork, the strength of their tremendous line, their offensive line, a lot of experience to break free. 3 experienced backs that they have back there, and they don't need to make anything fancy. They just need to drive the ball against a BC defense that's been pretty tough against the rush so far this year. Only 144 defensive yards rushing in 2 games. First
down of the afternoon on the rush for Maryland. Up deep, 40-yard line of Boston College. Crushpain there to pull down Abdur Raouf, a sophomore, 195 pounds from Millersville, Maryland, and a good one, sprint champion.
14 consecutive games now that he's caught a pass.
He's an excellent athlete. Was a quarterback in high school and in addition to many other sports. Eric Holder now comes out, and Shawn Sullivan, who's getting a lot of playing time early, comes in at the split end position. Farrell Edmonds, the 6'6" tight end, switches sides of the line. But Danek is in the game now. In motion, coming back and going the other way is Sullivan. Gives the ball to Tommy Neal. He's 200 pounds at 5'10". Nice low center of gravity and playing in a bad leg. Only had 1 or 2 rushes last week. Tom Perrell made the stop on Tommy Neal. They've got some excellent running backs in Blunt and Neal and Badanek, of course, and Stefan Schreiber, a power runner. Neal now has carried it 3 times for 17 yards. It'll be a 3rd down and 7 coming with the ball on the 37-yard line. First quarter, no score. Boston College, Maryland, 8:04 to play in the quarter. Gelbaugh is the quarterback. High formation. And Badanek has kept his active game streak alive, 38 without a miss. Just shy of the 20-yard line. Abdur Raouf and Rory Perriman, the man that we talked about, will probably see a lot of action over there on the near corner.
Talk about a tailback faking a move. Look at this. Here comes Tommy Neal up front, takes the fake and makes a good block to allow Gelbaugh to get to the outside under no pressure at all, and Abdur Raouf runs a good time pattern to the sidelines.
Perriman is going to see a lot of heat. There's your rush as we see it again, and they're working double time on Mike Ruth. 1st and 10 on the 20. Maryland rolling now. They've got that big front line. Tommy Neal. Inside the 15. Ted Gaffney, right linebacker. The first man to get there. And Neal and that running game moving pretty well against that front line of Boston College. Holder and Sullivan change spots. Holder in. Tommy Neal, 4 carries you saw.
Neal held up his hand just a moment ago. He wanted to get a brief rest, and so they do bring him out and put back in Alvin Blunt.
So Blunt, along with Rick Badanek, the all-time leading scorer at Maryland. He's 5'9", 217, gets the call. Flag thrown down to the 7-yard line. Gaffney again head on. Big John Boza, 97, watching the play there. Ruth off the penetration. Let's pick up the call from the referee. We got a holding call against Maryland. Referee working this ball game again today is James Garvey. So Bobby Ross, who is very concerned about penalties, as they walk it back, and he had it down 21-yard line. Here it is officially.
Offensive holding, 10 yards, repeat 2nd down.
So it holds. It's 2nd and 13 from the 13. And one day after Friday the 13, let's see what Maryland can do. And back into the eye. Shawn Sullivan is stretched to the near side with Raouf. Pitch back. That's Blunt. And Blunt right around the 15-yard line. Big John Boza from Keene, New Hampshire there. Badanek and Blunt, what a tandem they have formed, and Bicknell's club is getting a big stiff test today. 3rd down from the 14-yard line. Now they move it to the 4. That's not right either. It's up to the 13. Scoreboard is wrong. Let's see what happens. Gelbaugh. Deflected. Almost intercepted by Boston College. Carl Pellegata. There he is right there. Pellegata, who is replacing the all-everything Tony Thurman, who is a very tough guy to replace. Led this club in tackles career.
On the pattern, Abdur Raouf clears out to allow Eric Holder, number 81, to come underneath. The ball is deflected. Holder was open momentarily, and Maryland very fortunate this ball was not intercepted, as it was tipped twice by the Boston College defense.
Ramon Paredes, he is 1 for 3 in field goal attempts so far. He will try a 31-yard field goal. Here it comes. Good. So Paredes, who booted 1 for 22 last week, missed 2 at 34 and 51, has added 1 from 31. And it's Maryland 3, Boston College nothing. USA Sports again happy to be bringing you college football around the nation. And Maryland, who got off to a late start against Penn State last week, trailing 17-0, has gotten their foot out in the right direction so far here today.
Well, one of the issues that we can look at here, Eddie, as you take a look at these players, is where the shadows are. You see the shadows going right to left. this field, like most football fields, built north and south, but with games now starting at noontime, you do get the sun in players' eyes, and so with the wind coming from the north, you've got the sun coming from the south. It makes it difficult for the players.
Maryland will be kicking back to the same tandem from Boston College. And we should repeat, Kyle, the rule change from last year. I know you went over it last week, but let's do it one more time.
Well, anytime this year the kickoff goes totally out of the end zone, it comes back to the 20-yard line, which is historically where it's been until last year when the ball was brought back to the 30 to try to get the kickers to keep the ball more in play. But as it turned out, the competition committee of the NCAA and the College Football Association really overwhelmingly voted this year to return it to the 20-yard line.
There are other rule changes. We'll get to them where it applies. Boston College now will have young Giles, that's Tracey Giles, near side, Kelvin Martin far side, as Paredes will kick with a wind at his back. The one thing he does not want to do is to kick it toward Kelvin Martin, who is really an outstanding kick returner, averaging 20.7 yards per return. He's standing to the left, Giles to the right. It'll go to Giles, and he won't even get a chance to bring it out. The ball will be brought out to the 20-yard line, and Paredes, with a little help from Mariah, got himself a good kick away.
Last year where we saw the kickers hold up a little bit, this year they're not hindered at all. There's the scoring drive, 4 minutes and 26 seconds. A good drive, several first downs by the pass, a few by the run, and that's the typical Maryland style. Very well balanced offensive attack.
Boston College now with Kelvin Martin stretched to the near side, and Giaquinto to the near side also. Let's see what happens. Casparella and Gieselman, the tight end. Double tight. Give it to Ken Bell, the fullback. Scott Ty, one of the tacklers here for Maryland. Boy, they are really tough up front with Chapman, Messner, Sampson, and Ty in the front line. Outside backers of Kelly and Shankweiler. Kevin Walker has come in at one linebacker, and Richie Pettibone has come out. Give him 4 yards in the last carry. Casparello is to the near side. That's Halloran. And he's got a completed pass. Scott Gieselman with his 94th career reception, brought down by Fawcett and Walker, the bookend linebackers for the Maryland Terps. An 8-yard pickup, a first down and 10. And for Maryland, their first down, or for Boston College, their second first down of the ball game. Waddle has come in at a wideout. Giaquinto is out of the game. Dwayne Dunham has replaced Scott Ty defensively. First and 10 at the 31-yard line. Darren Flutie, brother of you guessed who, is in there in motion. And whistles all over the place, and there'll be a flag. Bob Arnold, who came in at one of the down position on the line, may have been involved in that infraction, and we'll have to wait to see what the call is. That's against Boston College, is what we are indicated. And it'll be a 5-yard walk-off. The referee's going to tell us why.
First down.
So the call, an illegal play. Well, we know the Boston College offense is complicated, but not only complicated to defense, it's complicated for the players to run.
Flutie and Waddell are into the near side. Halloran with a first and 15. Try to go to Gieselman, the big tight end, 6'6" and 249. Gee, they've got some big tight ends out there today. Kevin Walker pressuring along with Bruce Messner.
Well, that prior penalty, Eddie, I think what it was that the man that went in motion was on the line of scrimmage, which you can't do.
Once in a while, Boston College, with their some odd 25-plus formations, will get a little confused themselves. Took Doug Flutie 3 years to learn it. Halloran still learning. On the comeback, that's Flutie. Now, he is normally a receiver and nothing more, but because of the injury to Troy Stradford, he has been pressed into service and playing a position that he did very well at in high school, where he was an all-state performer.
And for Boston College, his average is going to drop dramatically. He had 4 carries for 44 yards before today, and that 11-yard average is going to certainly drop.
Chuck Gregory is checked into the BC lineup now. 3rd down, 13, ball on the 29-yard line. Gregory to the near side. Boston College trying to convert on a 3rd down. Halloran, who bootlegs well. To the 30, out of bounds at the 35-yard line. Chuck Fawcett. And it's going to call for a 4th down situation. Didn't get nearly enough. So a 4th down and 5, Keita Covington, who along with brother Al Covington form a mighty tandem coming from Danville, Virginia. Steve Beach is in to kick again. First time he got one away, 27 yards. And for Maryland, they will have number 1, Keita Covington, standing back on his own 25-yard line. Better kick. Covington looking up into the sun. He's going to let it bounce. And down at the 26, maybe close to the 27-yard line.
Guarantee you, Eddie, he couldn't see it at all.
Eric Lindstrom down the ball. We have a 3-0 Maryland lead still in the first quarter.
Stage. Call now, 1-800.
Sullivan Stadium, 3-0 Maryland. 3:36 to play in the first quarter. 1st and 10, ball at the 27-yard line. Eddie Doucette, Kyle Rote Jr. with our crew here today. Stan Gelbaugh will be the quarterback. They will have Badanek at the fullback position. Blunt will be the running back in the I. Little turnout thrown behind the man on the far side. It was intended for Abdur Raouf, but Neal Eiton, the only veteran returner in that secondary, was over there to cover. I'm a little surprised that they would go to Eiton's side when they have so many other inexperienced people out there in that secondary for BC.
Well, particularly Perryman on the opposite side, but Abdur Raouf is a good receiver. That time, he and Gelbaugh totally missed communication. He's trying to read the coverages, and when 2 players read the coverages differently, that's what happens. The ball is thrown to nobody.
Perryman out. McPherson is in. On the give. Blunt over the right side. Romanowski was a terrific linebacker along with Tom Perrell on the tackle. Romanowski, incidentally, was the defensive MVP in the Cotton Bowl.
Just a sophomore, too.
There's Blunt. Alvin Blunt averaging 4 yards a carry. Calling defensive signals. There's Ted Gaffney for Boston College. 3rd down and 6, ball on the 31. 3-0 Maryland. Badanek and Blunt and Holder in motion. Give it a Blunt. And he gets outside his own block, and he's hustled out of bounds by Chuck Gorecki, the senior defensive end at 232 pounds, who had 88 tackles in 1984.
Blunt on the misdirect, and as he got outside, he gave a little stutter step and beat Carl Pellegata up near the 1st down marker. Looks like he's still going to be an inch or 2 short.
Shawn Sullivan.
No, they got the 1st down.
Has come in. And the ball is on the 39-yard line. A 1st down situation. Crushpain, the strong safety, up on the line on the left side. And overthrown. Down at about the 40-yard line. As Stan Gelbaugh now trying to get something going. Gelbaugh is now 3 for 7, 38 yards.
Take a look at Shawn Sullivan as Sullivan comes across the middle. Doesn't make a very good move, trying to just use his speed, and doesn't drive back the defensive back very far before he makes the move. Really not a good, well-run pattern at all.
Neal Eiton was the defender covering. There it is, statistically. Still 3-0 Maryland, getting close to the first quarter end. Badanek and Blount. Little turnout. That's Eric Holder. And Carl Pellegata, the free safety, came up there to wrap him up. But it's going to get another 1st down done for Maryland. Well, Maryland moving the ball well when they've had it. And one of the things that Maryland does particularly well, and Bobby Ross will tell you, they try and control the football. They had it over 36 minutes last week against Penn State, and they're doing so again here today.
And they're using a lot of players in their scheme. Milling on the outside that time drew double coverage, which is what allowed Eric Holder to have single coverage inside in the slot.
Shawn Sullivan in. Eric Holder is out. In motion, that's Farrell Edmonds, 6'6" tight end. Use him as a block, get some momentum. Pitch back to Donnie. And to the 45, or just about the 45, and out of bounds. Again, repeating, he was not expected to play today. In fact, he could have been out as much as 3 weeks. But he's never missed a game at Maryland. Their all-time leading scorer. And as Kyle mentioned at the outset last year, this tough kid played 5 games with a separated shoulder. 1 rush, 5 yards. Badonic is averaging 4.1 yards per carry. 2nd down and 5 at the 45. Raouf and Holder. But Badonic and Blount, the running backs, and Holder in motion. That's Blunt. Caught and then breaks loose to get inside the 45-yard line.
Chuck Gorecki is the man who made the first contact in the backfield, number 95 for Boston College.
Bill Romanowski also there.
Here's Mike Ruth, gets a double team, but that allows some other players to get some help. And Ruth keeps playing off the blocks, gets to the point of attack, and finally does make the tackle. But the initial contact made in the defensive line by Gorecki, number 95.
Ruth had 18 tackles in 2 games with 4 sacks and an interception coming into this one. 3rd and 3 on the 42-yard line. Raouf in motion. No one there. Gelbaugh wanting to throw. His timing is not quite sharp enough. And Gelbaugh now is 4 for 9. So the man that replaced Frank Reich, who had 5 terrific games last year, they really had a dilemma trying to figure out who to start, Reich or Gelbaugh. Struggling a little bit, even though his club is running the ball and moving it up the field fairly well against Boston College.
Well, more than the struggling, he looks tentative, Eddie, and he doesn't look like he's playing with a lot of confidence. That pass was thrown to the blocker rather than to the man that was screening.
First punt for Maryland. And Darrell Wright gets away at Vandy and down inside the 5-yard line. It's 3-0 Maryland with 38 seconds in the quarter.
When it's icy cold and the wires are down and they're spitting sparks all over the ground, you gotta go, can't fool around. That's why America goes with Prestone.
A fresh fill of Prestone Chew antifreeze fights freeze up and rust up too. A radiator could look this bad after just 10,000 miles of driving on weak, neglected antifreeze, while the Prestone radiator looks this good. Get the Prestone difference.
America goes and goes and goes with Prestone.
The response to the Paula, America's new mattress by Soma, exclusively at Snuggy's Waterbed Works, has been terrific. So if you missed it before, don't miss it again. Snuggy's second chance of a lifetime sale. Test the Paula by Soma or any other waterbed sleep system at Snuggy's, where 10% down keeps your choice in layaway until Christmas, if you can wait that long. Exclusively at these Snuggy's Waterbed Works, Milford, Tri-County, Clifton, and Fairfield. Snuggy's, the only waterbed stores you'll ever need. We cannot and will not be undersold.
International School of Casino Games is accepting students now. Learn blackjack dealing for a rewarding and exciting...
On the 4-yard line, and Halloran will have to move his club a long way if he's going to get anything done here. Giaquinto and Flutie are in, with Bell, one of the running backs, and good blocking on the right side of the line. They came up behind Trapilo and Joe Wolf. That's 275 and 267, and Ted Chapman, who got moved out of there, managed to get back and get a little strength to pull his man down. Temple gave Maryland a good, or Boston College a good game last week, and so far leading Penn State 3-0. Jim Bell has come out, and John Mahalik is in with Ken Bell. They've got a couple of fullbacks in there right now. Kenny Bell bounces off the first hitter, slides down the line, and Steve Kelly, the outside man, number 53 right there, came over to wrap him up. So that'll end the first quarter. And it's Maryland 3, Boston College nothing. Don't go away. We'll be coming right back on USA.
You've probably heard that Coors isn't pasteurized. Well, it's true. It's also true that Coors is the only major brewer who won't pasteurize any of their beer. The reason? It's taste. See, when you pasteurize something, you heat it. And heating hurts the taste of beer. So Coors purifies without heat. That helps make Coors a little less heavy, never bitter, but with all the spirit of a great beer. So when you want a beer, it's just plain better. Coors is the one.
I got bad news for this guy. He needs a complete transmission job. About $600. This is a Fram transmission filter, just a few dollars. Now, if you take care of your car right, including changing your transmission fluid and putting in a new Fram transmission filter when you should, you may never be faced with this kind of problem. But the choice is yours. You can pay me now or pay me later.
How important an advertising medium is cable television? How sophisticated and selective are advertisers like these? Cable television is very important. In every city and town, the cable audience is an audience who has spent money to get cable programming, so they watch it with greater interest than the programming they watch for free. Local advertisers like you are putting money into cable television because they've discovered cable television combines the sight, sound, movement, and color of broadcast television with the ability to target your message to the audience you really want to reach. What could make more sense for you?
Advertise on the USA Network and call Cable Advertising at 896-9359.
Well, we'll tell you that next week we're in Pittsburgh. Should be a darn good game. Boston College and the Pittsburgh Panthers at 12 noon on USA. College football 85. Right now we're at Sullivan Stadium in Foxborough. And Maryland with a 3-0 lead starting the second quarter. Opening fumble. Keita Covington, I believe the left corner, recovering the ball that was fumbled by Jim Bell, the inexperienced sophomore tailback, filling in for Troy Stradford, who is out with a pulled hamstring. So a 32-yard field goal is all that's on the board so far for Maryland.
Good job of blocking by the Boston College offensive line to spring Bell into the defensive secondary, but he doesn't hold on to the ball. There's a pretty good tackle made, and of course Keita Covington right there on the bouncing ball to pick it up for Maryland.
Maryland with an opportunity. 1st and 10 on the 25-yard line. Some good blocking on the left side. Tommy Neal, who is a slashing type runner, stopped by John Bosa and Neal Eiton. So Neal, who comes in, as I said, 200 pounds from Maryland and averaging 5.5 a carry.
Take a look at some of the nice trap blocking by Jeff Holinka, number 62. He gets there. There's no one there to even block. His teammates have done such a good job on the down blocking against the defensive line of Boston College.
Neal so far with 33 yards. Ball from the 16. And that time it was Stefan Schreiber, who is the backup to Rick Bodanik. He's a junior, 6'3", 2 1/4. Bill Thompson, outside linebacker on the right side for Jack Bicknell, the tackler on the play. Shawn Sullivan will come off, and Eric Holder will come in now for Maryland and coach Bobby Ross. Bobby Ross, this is his 5th year for Maryland. Actually his 4th year, 10-year coach. All right, let's see what we have now. 3-0 Maryland. Gelbaugh, the signal caller. Neal trying to cut back inside. And it was Bill Thompson again. You don't want to make a mistake against Thompson, Kyle. His mother is a federal court judge in New Jersey, and his dad is a dentist. So you're going to get caught either way on that one.
That's right.
There he is, Neal, now with 6 carries and 37 yards. Again, we'll remind you that they scored on a 50-yard drive, had 11 plays, and took 426 and ended with a 32-yard field goal by Paredes. 3-0 Maryland. 2nd and 8. Ball on the 11-yard line. Started at the 25. Neal. Inside the 10. Neal Eiton tackling Tommy Neal. And a whistle momentarily. There's a player injured down on the field for Boston College. Eric Holder, meanwhile, will come back in the lineup. And they will make yet another change with James Milling coming in and Abdur Rauf coming off for Maryland. So with a 3-0 Maryland lead and 13:06 to play here in the second quarter, we'll be right back.
This Jeep Cherokee has some amazing things going for it. Room for 5 adults or 71 cubic feet of cargo. Doors, your choice of 2 or 4. Drive, 2 or 4 wheels shift on the fly. Power from a torquey 2.5-liter engine. But most important, this Cherokee is all Jeep, body and soul.
On the next cover story,
you know that it would be untrue.
Jose Feliciano tells how he overcame his handicap to make beautiful harmonies.
Basically, I see everything the same way everybody else sees it.
Let Jose Feliciano light your fire. Cover story today.
Only one man in America knows the deadly martial arts secrets of the ninja. Lee Van Cleef is the master. Coming to USA Saturday, October 5th.
Eddie Doucette and Kyle Rote Jr. for USA Sports in Foxborough. 3-0 Maryland, and that man is Neal Eiton. Now, they're already hurt on that side with young Clarence Munn not making the trip today. They have a Cecil Ricks, who is a young, inexperienced back, and now they're using 2 men from the left side, Perriman on the left, and Garrett McPherson, who is his backup on the right side to replace the injured Neal Eiton. 3rd down, 4 yards to go. Gelbaugh onto Heat. Ted Gaffney dragging down the receiver on the play, and that is number 93, I believe. That's correct. That's Farrell Edmonds. And Kyle, he did not receive a catch last week. He ran for 17 yards once for Bobby Ross in Maryland, but at 6'6", and as we said, 230-plus pounds, this sophomore is one that they really think is going to be outstanding before it's over.
Runs a 9.900 as well.
Raouf in. James Milling out. 1st and 2 on the 2-yard line. 12:32 to play in the half. That's Scriber. Blocking set up. Tommy Neal. And it's a touchdown, Maryland.
Just seen something very unusual. Rick Badanek, number 40, does not get the ball inside. Tommy Neal does. Badanek, the inside the 5-yard line specialist, with all the touchdowns, but instead they go to Tommy Neal.
So it went 25 yards in 6 plays. Paredes is in to kick. And it's 10-0 Maryland. With 12:23 to play in the first half. Maryland 10, Boston College nothing on USA.
No matter how hard you work, Right Guard can help keep you smelling good for up to 24 hours.
You work hard, you need Right Guard.
This is Brush Plus from Gillette. A shaving concentrate and brush in one. A brush to lift whiskers, a concentrate to soften them. A shave that is superior. Brush Plus for a superior shave.
We improved the new Ford Escort in a lot of different areas. We improved it in the area of performance with quicker acceleration. We improved it in the area of efficiency with better gas mileage. We even improved it in the area of comfort, not to mention just about every other area too, which is quite impressive for a car already the bestseller in this area.
Visit West Hills Ford, 5400 Glenway Avenue, Cincinnati.
We are back. Maryland 10, Boston College nothing. It'll be Tracey Giles and Kelvin Martin again in twin safety. Let's watch that last score.
Take a look. Everyone's looking to Rick Badanek because he has 39 touchdowns in just 37 games. But instead it goes to Tommy Neal, and he jumps up over the top, and perhaps because of Bananek's problem with his thigh, he would have been unable to make the leap, so they go to the speedster.
And they're going to need a lot more sock than that. They're trailing 10-0 as the BC Eagle will get set to go back and help the twin safeties as Ramon Paredes. He was a walk-on. He's from Danville, Virginia, with Peruvian bloodlines.
Talked about the sun. We have a good chance to see. It's going to be right in the eyes of the receivers for Boston College. Let's see if it causes them any problems.
But into the wind on the kick. Giles at the 2. They're keeping it away from Martin. 15, Didn't quite get to the 20-yard line, and that time hanging on to the football with two hands. Learning the lesson from his teammate Jim Bell, who fumbled the ball and set up the TD drive for the Maryland Terrapins. So we're ready to go, Boston College. Will take the ball, 1st and 10 at the 19-yard line. Shawn Scott was the man that made the tackle on the kickoff. Boston College with a little confusion, trying to confuse Maryland, and that wide tackle 6. Long count. Shawn Halloran from the 11. And almost intercepted that time. Number 60. That's Alston O'Brien, an outside linebacker who shifted sides. O'Brien is a sophomore, good size, 6'6" and 216, and still growing. So an incompleted pass, 2nd down, and 10 to go, ball on the 19-yard line. 12-12 to play in the half. Darren Flutie has come in. He's the sophomore brother, 5'9", 171 of Doug. Casparello has gone out. Giaquinto is stretched to the far side. All kinds of formations. Gieselman in motion. Now comes back. There's Halloran. Flag thrown. Deep post. And no flag thrown on the intended receiver, Joe Giaquinto. Challenged by Al Covington, the free safety, and Don Brown, the right corner. Couple of seniors.
Jack McNeil with his hands on his hips, not because the referees didn't make the call. The ball has to be catchable for defensive pass interference. That pass not catchable, but perhaps looking towards his own offensive line that got caught for the holding.
Toronto Blue Jay farmhand at one time. Chuck Fawcett talking it over with the referee. Obviously the penalty will go against Boston College. Jack Bicknell, fist clench, trying to send in a play here as Boston College makes some changes. Bell and Giles, the running back tandem. What's the call on this one?
Offensive holding, half the distance to the goal, 2nd down.
There it is. Offensive holding, half the distance. Casparillo replaces Scott Gieselman. 2 penalties, 15 yards total against Boston College. Giles and Bell, running backs. Kelvin Martin stretched to the near side. That's Gieselman in motion. Halloran. And a dangerous turnout pattern on the far side. Don Brown, the right corner, with some help over there from Kevin Walker, who was a running back until last year. But there's Don Brown, 5'11", 189-pounder from Annapolis.
Here's the inexperience of Halloran, because Halloran had a chance to run and pick up really good yardage there, and he had several blockers in front of him. But as he got to the line of scrimmage, hesitated a little bit, decided to throw the ball when he had a clear 12 or 15-yard pickup. Doug Flutie obviously would have kept running.
Boston College 0 for 3 in 3rd down conversions. Tom Waddle on the far side. Flag down. They go short to Ken Bell. Bell just shy of the 24-yard line. Chuck Fawcett and Alston O'Brien, outside and inside linebackers. And Kenny Bell, who's averaging about 3 yards a carry coming in. And this time it's against the University of Maryland.
And that's going to be good, because that last pass, even though it was completed, was still short of the 1st down by quite a bit. So we have a face mask call. That's going to be against Bob Arnold of Maryland. And Shawn Regent, one of the tri-captains, number 54 for Boston College, will make the choice. After a little bit of help from the sidelines from his coaches, who will tell him what to do.
There are some very large young men down on the field, both sides. Of course, weight training has really shown its effect. Here it is.
Face mask, 15 yards, defense, repeat 3rd down.
All right, now on a face masking call, Kyle, 2 ways you can interpret it.
Well, it's either 5 yards or 15. If it's a flagrant face mask, it's 15. If it's an unintentional face mask, it's 5. One of the rule changes, one of the 36 rule changes this year.
That's the 2nd penalty against Maryland and Bobby Ross's club. 25 yards total. Kelvin Martin is near side, stretched out. Far side, they go Tom Waddle. Darren Flutie is also out there. It'll be a 3rd down and 4. Ball on the 25-yard line. They got a first down. That's Darren Flutie, and he's tripped up. Darren Flutie, who we saw in USA last year as a freshman, and I believe it was Al Covington who got to him.
Take a look again. This pass by Halloran just dumped over the defense. There's the pass by Flutie, the catch, but he hits an ankle as he comes down. This turf is outstanding. It's much like that Boston College has up in Chestnut Hill, but it grabs so well that many times you get sprained ankles, and I think that we're gonna see Darren Flutie hobbling off.
Yeah, that's one of those plays that can come up and take a bite out of your heels more than what you would think.
You're happy for the first down, but when you come down in an awkward fashion like that, it's very easy to damage the ligaments in the ankle with this kind of turf.
We have a timeout with 11:10 to play in the half. Maryland 10, Eagles nothing.
We're not a company, but we recognize potential. We develop it. We use it. We'll make sure that as your responsibility grows, so will you. As your ability for leadership grows, so will you. Working with us, you'll gain self-confidence, become a person with a future. We're not a company, we're your country. We're the Marines, the Army, the Navy, the Air Force. We're the Armed Forces. It's a great place to start.
You can be funny.
I am funny.
Bud and Lou didn't always agree.
Here's to Costello and Abbott.
To Abbott and Costello.
But when they did,
Who's on first? I don't know. Third base.
they were two of the funniest guys in America. Harvey Korman and Buddy Hackett are Bud and Lou, a USA premier event. At 3 p.m. Eastern, noon Pacific, tomorrow.
Just a beautiful day in Foxborough, Massachusetts. Sullivan Stadium. Boston College in Maryland, 10-0 Maryland so far. BC with their longest drive of the game, 23 yards. They have struggled, and quite frankly, this is an injured Boston College club. More than Troy Stradford, the fellow that we don't talk about is the hub, the fulcrum of their team. It appears that Darren Flutie is all right, but young Jack Bicknell Jr., who was the center on that offensive line last year, the Secret Service, has not played at all this year, Kyle. And while you don't hear too much mention about him, if you talk to the coaches, they say that that is a key major injury for Boston College.
Well, he's the quiet leader. Started 22 consecutive games. Was the man that Doug Flutie really looked to keep the line together. We'll take a look at the pass completion from Halloran to Flutie. Again, Boston College employs a very sophisticated offense, many times using 5 receivers as they do on this particular play. The pass to Flutie as he gets single coverage, and Flutie's able to pick up the first down. While we were away, he did get his ankle taped up again. As you see there, he goes down on the side a little bit right there, and unable to maintain his feet, but he did get the first down for the Eagles.
Waddle and Martin near side. Halloran wanting to throw. And into coverage, deflected and picked off by Maryland. So Maryland, opportunistic so far in the fumble recovery at the 25-yard line. Chuck Fawcett, with excellent hands, has picked it up off the deflection, and Maryland will take over with the ball at the 45-yard line. There's Fawcett. That's the 3rd turnover of the ball game for Boston College. And those are the mistakes they cannot afford to make against a hungry 0-1 Maryland team that really has designs on a national championship.
This is the 3rd time in the first half that they've given Maryland the ball in their own defensive territory.
Holder in motion. Botanic and Blunt are the running backs. That's Gelbaugh going deep. And he had a man down there, Abdur Raouf, and Rory Perriman, the man that we've talked about on and off so far in the first half, was the fellow that he was going up against. Raouf, incidentally, was a fine sprint champion in high school. There are your turnovers. As Fawcett getting a chance to get his name in those defensive columns that get a little asterisk.
Hey, Carolyn.
Say it all, Chuck. Abdur Raouf replaced by James Milling. 2nd down, 10, ball at the 45-yard line. 10-0 the Terrapins. Intended for Milling, Perriman right there. The Perriman experiment is one that Boston College feels is really going to work out for them, Kyle. He is a young guy, converted quarterback. They say he's the best athlete on the team. So far, he has had a stern test in the first 2 games.
Part of the reason they look to him is because he has a pedigree. His older brother, Robert, is Michigan's fullback. Younger brother, Ronald, is a freshman running back. And they just expect a lot of great things out of him with his size, 6'3", 221. And his kind of speed, you would expect that he could be a tremendous defensive back and perhaps would have a pro future, but so far he's yet to understand the subtleties of playing the secondary.
3 for 6 on 3rd down conversions. Tip ball and not quite pulled off as Chuck Gorecki got up there, and Farrell Edmonds, the man for whom it was intended, could not quite dig it out. So we've got a 4th down and 10, and Darrell Wright will come in to do the punting here for the University of Maryland. Wright averaged over 41 yards a kick in 84. This year he's under 37 yards a kick. And Kelvin Martin standing looking into the sun on his own 10-yard line, averaging 12.6 per punt return. Not a very high kick. And Martin calls for the fair catch and a flag thrown. I don't believe they gave him the necessary 2 yards, did they?
Nope, sure didn't, as they ran right by him, didn't make any contact, but with the sun making it difficult as it is, you really can't hinder a player even with fear.
The concern is that the offensive man has got to make a clear signal that he wants a fair catch. Then the defense has got to give him at least a couple of yards to make that catch. Now let's see what it's going to be.
It's going to be against Lewis Askew, I'm sure, number 13.
Let's get the call here from the referee.
Violation of the 2-yard rule. No contact, 5 yards. First down.
No contact, 5 yards. Had there been contact, 15. See it again.
There's a good, clear signal. And I don't know, you could say he was blocked into him. Well, I'm sure that argument is Moriarty blocking him in to the receiver.
Giaquinto and Martin are the receivers to the near side. Maryland has controlled the football per their game plan. Direct give, Kenny Bell. Boy, he hit a wall and was slammed down. Ted Chapman, the first man to crunch him, and I believe Scott Shankweiler, one of the co-captains, pulled him down. Chapman, there's O'Brien Alston, so maybe Alston moved over to the left side. Chapman, a walk-on from Salisbury, Maryland. 10-16 and ticking in the first half. Kelvin Martin replaced by Chuck Gregory. Chapman Alston is the linebacker on the near side for Maryland. Bootleg rollout. Oh my. Almost a terrific catch by Gieselman. Chuck Fawcett again. Fawcett tried 2 years with the Toronto Blue Jays. Didn't hit very well. About half his weight, I think.
Hits out here a lot better. Take a look at Gieselman on the drag pattern across the middle inside the linebackers. The pass is thrown into coverage, as you said, Eddie. Darren Flutie was wide open up front, and Fawcett had a chance for a second interception there with the pass being thrown just behind him by Halloran. Really a wrong decision by Halloran as he had Flutie open just in front of Gieselman.
3rd and 9 from the 16-yard line. Well, we talked coming into the game about the front rush of Maryland, or Boston College. Don't take a thing away from Maryland and Neal Sampson with help from Fawcett. They held, as we had mentioned, the Penn State ball club to less than 70 yards rushing, and that is their bread and butter.
And even though 20 points were scored by the Nittany Lions, one of those was on the interception, so they really only allowed Penn State 1 touchdown and 2 field goals.
Averaging 32 a kick. Peach to Covington. Low kick. At the 50, knee goes down. And under pressure from Boston College, Jeff Oliver. The ball is downed, and that will turn it back over to Maryland. The Terps 10, Eagles nothing with 9:20 in the half.
On the next Saturday Nightmares, Susan George gambles her life when she moves into the deadly world of international espionage in Checkmate. Plus, the day Mars invaded the Earth. Then, Night Flight profiles today's hottest video directors, including Godley and Cream, on USA Tonight.
Hill Street Blues' Veronica Hamill is a beautiful model in danger on the Eddie Capra Mysteries, a USA crime buster, at 3:30 p.m. Eastern.
Snuggy's Waterbed Works, where the Tri-State can always buy a waterbed for as low as $99, and Santa's Little Helpers are loading up Snuggy's warehouse for Christmas. Put any of Snuggy's large selection of waterbed sleep systems into layaway for only 10% down, or take one home today and hide it in your closet till Christmas. Only at Snuggy's Waterbed Works in Milford, Tri-County, Clifton, and Fairfield. Open 7 days a week and evenings. Snuggy's, the only waterbed stores you'll ever need. We cannot and will not be undersold.
Wall Street Journal.
Well, Pittsburgh playing Ohio State today, but next week they'll be playing these same Boston College Eagles, featuring, of course, for Pitt, their tailback sophomore, Charles Gladman.
We'll have it for you at 12 noon Eastern Time on USA. Chris Knight now is in at a tight end. Another big kid from the I formation. Knight in motion. That's Tommy Neal. Dave Amen, the big center at 270 pounds, a sophomore, with Keith Bullock and Neal, the running backs, now in there for the University of Maryland. Neal has carried 9 times for 43 yards. John Galvin comes in at a linebacker for Boston College, and Ted Gaffney comes off. Gaffney calls the defensive sets normally. 2nd and 7 from the 47-yard line. 10-0 Maryland, 8:47 to play in the half. And moving into a slight wind. Pitch back. Tommy Neal. And there are flags as Bill Romanowski, a converted fullback, who is probably one of the best they have ever had at the linebacker position for Boston College, was there to crack him good.
Romanowski doesn't neutralize on this tackle, doesn't stand him up. He wins it clearly as he comes through. Tremendous explosion with the legs and is able to knock Tommy Neal down for a little bit of a loss.
6'3", 223, Vernon, Connecticut. So that'll bring up a 2nd down and 7. Ball on the 47-yard line. Bill Thompson has been replaced by Eric Lindstrom. Both those fellows, incidentally, sophomore linebackers playing on the outside, and you'll hear many, many good things about them. Mike Ruth standing in the middle of the pile there, and the officials are going to mark something off here on that flag. We'll get a call on it. It's a 10-yarder, so probably holding. Let's see what it is.
Offensive holding, 10 yards, 2nd down.
Maryland, 4 penalties, 40 yards. Now, with this situation being what it is, long yardage, Lindstrom comes out, Ken Moriarty comes in for Jack Bicknell's Boston College Eagles. So they go with 5 defensive backs. Farrell Edmonds switching side to the line. Tommy Neal, one of the running backs. Gelbaugh in between. What a pass, and Abdul Rauf close to the 40-yard line of Boston College, where Carl Pellegata
got another flag down, Eddie.
There's Abdul Rauf.
Everybody's moving back. Offensive holding against Maryland.
Well, they have a huge front line. They call themselves the Beef Brothers. They have 4 big men, 5 refrigerators living in a 4-room suite. And I can tell you that they play football and eat a lot.
Illegal use of hands during a pass, 5 yards. Previous spot.
Well, you got to do something today to get illegal use of the hands and offensive blocking because of the liberalized rules. There are the penalty totals. Maryland having the worst of it right now.
That's the only mar to their performance so far. They lead it 10-0. We have 8 minutes to play here in the first half. Galvin replaced by Gaffney at the linebacking positions for BC.
The offensive blocking rules now, you can do just about anything with your hands as long as they're inside your shoulders. But one of the linemen for Maryland must have tried a clothesline on one of the Boston College defensive linemen.
Kyle, this drive started at the 50-yard line. It's back to the 36. They're going the wrong way. Maryland last year 9-3. They averaged about 447 yards a game, and 237 of that was passing, among the leaders in the country. 2nd, 24. Stephon Scriber. And back close to the original line of scrimmage. That was a 15-yard pickup by the junior running back, who is doing split time today with Rick Bodonic. Well, he's bigger than Bodonic, if you can believe that, at 225.
And a little bit taller, too. Can see things a little bit better. 6'3" tall. Has some nifty running style as he moves into the defensive secondary of Boston College. That's a great sign for this dominant team that Maryland's building with their coach, Bobby Ross. Some great recruiting years after their last 3 bowl appearances.
3rd down 9. Nickelback situation. Moriarty is in. Lindstrom out. Another flag. They get their man. 37-yard line.
Well, I'm going to guess illegal motion on that one. It looked like he went towards the line of scrimmage before the ball was snapped.
I think you're right. That's Abdur Raouf and Neal Eiton, who was injured in the first quarter, back in there now. Got hit on the head, and there it is. Illegal motion. Good call, Kyle. Might explain that rule.
Well, as long as he's going parallel to the line of scrimmage when the ball is snapped, he has no problem, but he took a few steps in anticipation of the snap. Got a little running head start, and he's got enough speed. He doesn't need that.
Illegal motion, offense, 3rd down.
3rd down and 14. And Gelbaugh with another test. Gelbaugh so far is 5 for 13. And that would total unofficially 57 yards. 10-0 Maryland. One of the rare occasions Maryland's had a lead. Raouf, he'll split to the far side. Coming down to the near side. Chris Knight. Play action and overshooting Shawn Sullivan.
Carl Pellegata says, welcome to the Boston College secondary.
Boston College with some ferocious hitters. Pellegata, Romanowski, and Gelbaugh will check out, come over here and draw some ice and figure out what he can do to penetrate. Kelvin Martin will come back inside the 15-yard line, and Darrell Wright, who is averaging 37 yards a kick, will boot it. He's standing at about his 32 and momentarily mishandled the snap. And inside the 20, rolling inside the 15, and under orders, will let it die right there. And a flag again thrown, and I believe again against Maryland. Sean Kelly, or Sean Scott, number 51, a linebacker, was the man that the official was looking at. That was a 41-yard kick. Personal foul. A big one coming up right here. And I'm sure that Bobby Ross is not at all happy with what's going on in this particular facet of the game. The penalties have certainly put a big dent in what Maryland has attempted to do in the first half here today.
That's the first time the Boston College defense has been able to hold Maryland to not even a first down. They were able to even drive when they didn't score earlier. We're now seeing the ball moved all the way out to the 29-yard line.
On the kicking team, 1st down.
James Garvey, the referee. 1st down. Give him an extra 15, move it out close to the 30-yard line. Ball officially 29. And spotted on the hash marks in the far side. And Maryland in dismay here at Foxborough, 10-0. The Maryland Terps over the BC Eagles. And at halftime, we've got some interesting things. We've got a feature on college quarterbacks. We'll have our Wall Street weekend memo and first half highlights and statistics. We hope you're enjoying our USA Sports presentation, College Football 85. Jack Bicknell, incidentally, will be right back with us again next week with his BC Eagles. Bicknell, quite frankly, Kyle, is a little bit frustrated and perhaps a little peeved at some of the reaction he's getting around the Boston area because they seem to be expecting so much in the post-Doug Flutie era. Well, Halloran sat in the wings for 3 years and now is a senior getting his test. And these fans are, or were becoming accustomed to seeing a winner. And it hasn't been, well, it hasn't been indicative of what they've seen in the past. A little sloppy so far, but it's going to take time.
Well, the Cotton Bowl champions of last year beating Houston 45-28. The 2-time defending Lambert Trophy champions beat basically the top team in the East, and the expectations are high.
Martin and Giaquinto, the wideouts. 1st and 10 at the 29. Shawn Halloran to pass. Chase and drop. Bruce Messner, All-Atlantic Coast Conference, 263 pounds, 2nd sack of the ball game, and quite frankly, I think you have to say that one of the things that Halloran does not have is foot speed. And the linemen, the defensive linemen, have as much quickness. Penalties, 7-2 Maryland, 69 to 15 yards. And that is allowing Boston College to stay within striking distance. Waddle and Martin, receivers near side. 2nd and 13 from the 26-yard line, off the sack. Halloran. Darren Flutie. And he looked upfield before he had possession of the football. He heard the footsteps, and it'll be a 3rd down.
2 receivers clearing out that space for Flutie. He moved in. The pass was a little bit late to him, and I think that's maybe why Flutie looked up before he caught the ball. Here we take a defensive back look. Shawn Halloran on the pass, hits Flutie right in the gut. And Flutie expecting to be hit and tries to turn before he makes a complete reception.
So after a 2-for-2 start for Shawn Halloran, he is now 3 for 9 for 34 yards passing. Waddle and Martin split receivers. Giaquinto stretched to the far side. 3rd down, 13 to go at the 26-yard line. Halloran again. And the coverage has been terrific as Donald Brown was right there. And did they drop another flag?
Got a flag.
Boy, they're blanketing the BC receivers, however.
That's Donald Brown. We'll see if he is the culprit.
And Maryland having a big problem here this afternoon with the penalties.
Tell you what, the referees, though, talking to Maryland, so it looks like it's going to be a penalty against Boston College.
If it is, it would be loss it down, and you mark it from the previous spot. Yes, it is.
It must have been ahead of the line of scrimmage.
Well, let's see. Was there an ineligible receiver? See what the call is. I did not see the indication. It's 10-0 Maryland. They're going to mark it off against Boston College, and it'll bring up a kicking situation for the Eagles. Referee James Garvey.
Forward pass beyond the line.
Ah.
Offense. Lost it down. Offense, and it's 4th down.
There you go. It's and the officials are right on it, Kyle, doing an excellent job. Pass beyond the line. That means Peach will get a chance to punt. Ball on the 26, averaging 32.7. With a little wind and out of bounds, close to the 35-yard line. So Peach gets a boomer away that time. Well, not so great, 35 yards. Ball will be spotted on a 1st down and 10 situation at the, where are they going to put
39,
this one?
it looks like.
Yeah, they've changed their mind on this one twice, and they're going to bring it out to the 39-yard line. That's where it went out of bounds. Part of the crowd here today, not a sellout crowd, but the interest in the Boston area is definitely on the rise. BC is the talk of the town these days. 10-0 Maryland. 5:15 to play here in the half. Stan Gelbaugh with Rick Badana getting the call. And the bowling ball, fullback from Boardman, Ohio, gets the ball and some running room that time, good for 8 yards and 2 shy of the 1st down.
Take a look again at the tenacity of Badanek. He can't be stopped. He moves inside on the trap play, moves to the outside, lowers the shoulder, and as you said, Eddie, his teammate Chuck Fawcett earlier, it's like trying to tackle a bowling ball. Not many people have much success at that.
Had 16 touchdowns last year. He has 39 in his career. He's never missed a game at Maryland, and he's hurting today, I can tell you. 5'9", 217. Milling, one of the wide receivers. He's to the near side. Coming in motion, that's Eric Holder. Yellow ball rolling. And incomplete. Intended for Milling. He's only 5'10", 151 pounds. And he is from Temple Hills, Maryland.
I know, Eddie, you've seen a basketball player jump up for a rebound and mistime the jump and have to make the rebound flat-footed. That's really what happened to Milling that time. He jumped a little bit early as the pass from Gelbaugh was not a tight spiral and waffled a little bit in the air, caused a mistime on the catch, but that ball was easily catchable. Milling makes the mistake.
Now Gelbaugh, 43% in the game last week, and now 33% today. Scriber, there was a man offsides for Maryland. Now let's see whether he was drawn or he did it on his own. movement on that offensive line. It might have been that left guard, Len Lynch. And they've called it against Maryland, so it'll be a 5-yard. 3rd down and 6.
Bobby Ross just shakes his head.
What can I do?
You know what I think happened? Scriber came in motion, and Scriber, many times the man in motion will brush the quarterback.
Offense, 3rd down.
Illegal movement. I think Scriber brushed the right guard for Maryland, and that unusual touch kind of spurred him into movement.
4:19 to play here in the half. The Terrapins with a 10-0 lead. They lost a squeaker to Penn State last week. BC beat Temple. They didn't have a lot of breathing room in that one either. Big rush. And Perriman going right there against Shawn Sullivan. Carl Pellegata also there, and it'll bring up a 4th down. And Kyle, the front rush of Mike Ruth, has been silent, but he's getting double, triple teamed as we see Pellegata, the senior safety. Darrell Wright will kick. Kelvin Martin at the 13-yard line. Remember now, Wright will be kicking into the wind. And a fair catch call for. So it'll be Boston College's ball at about the 24-yard line. A 34-yard kick into the wind. Maryland 10, Boston College nothing. Eddie Doucette and Kyle Rote Jr. Next week it'll be at Pittsburgh, and Halloran and the Eagles will see what they can do against Foch Fazio's big kids from the Steel City.
Got a little civil war here for at least one family, the Saylor family, with 2 linebackers, one playing for BC, sophomore Mike, the other a freshman linebacker from Maryland. His name is Scott.
Kelvin Martin in motion. Halloran from the 24-yard line. He's got the underneath receiver, and that is Jimmy Bell. Jim Bell, the sophomore tailback, playing for Stratford, and Chuck Fawcett, the junior from Willingsboro, New Jersey. Well, I want to tell you about something coming up right after our game today. If you stay with USA, we'll bring you the finals of the DuPont All-American Championship. It's being played at Hilton Head, South Carolina. The men's final has defending champion Jimmy Arias against Gene Mayer, and the women's Kathy Horvath against Bonnie Goduzak. That's coming up next. Championship tennis on USA.
Halloran's pitch to Jim Bell. Bell moves off the block of Ken Bell and picks up the 1st down.
Bobby Arnold, the tackler. 3:24, and the crowd starting to get with it here at Foxborough Sullivan Stadium. The stadium was named after Billy Sullivan, who is the gentleman that owns the Boston Patriots and is a BC alumnus, class of 37. Jim Bell out. Darren Flutie comes in. Double receivers to the far side. Halloran, the 29. Completed pass to Darren Flutie. Steve Kelly, outside linebacker, getting caught on the one-on-one coverage on the hit. A 9-yard completion. One thing Halloran has, and he's got some poise back there, he gets a little time to pass, and he looks it over pretty well. Bicknell Sr., one of the Bicknell Juniors, following close behind. Call me and my shadow. A flag thrown and a completed pass to Darren Flutie. And they're using the younger brother of Doug Flutie from Natick, Mass. Scott Shankweiler, co-captain, outside backer to the near side, and a penalty call.
Offensive holding against Boston College offensive line. Maryland is only rushing 4 defensive linemen, which means they've got 7 players back for secondary coverage, and that's why Halloran is having to throw so many short passes. He can't throw the deep ball because he'd be throwing into double coverage.
Holding, offense, 10 yards, 2nd down.
2nd down and 13. Ball on the 35-yard line. We have 2 minutes and 15 seconds to play in the first half. Maryland 10-0. Lots of changes. Boston College, one of them, Sean Murphy, replacing Scott Gieselman. 6'3" for 6'6". Kelvin Martin is to the near side. Giaquinto to the far side. On the reverse, there's Kelvin Martin. Blocker in front. Over the 40-yard line. Started at the 35. Al Covington, the free safety, a hitter at 177 pounds.
On the replay, we see the movement. Flutie back to Kelvin Martin on the reverse. And here comes the man they call Bam Bam Covington. Number 18, Al Covington, as Ketas tries to set up on the block, and number 18 comes in a flash and destroys Kelvin Martin.
3rd down and 5. It's at the 48-yard line. The underneath man again, Darren Flutie. And on this drive, he has made 3 fine receptions. And it's Louis Askew, a walk-on backup line outside cornerman. A junior from Monroeville, Pennsylvania. And now Boston College has picked up a first down. That's their 5th first down. Well, Jack Bicknell's got to be liking now what he's seeing all of a sudden as they get dangerously close to running out of time here in the first half with a minute to play. Martin and Waddle. Receivers to the near side. Halloran. Kelvin Martin. And rather than try and go deep, they're going to the underneath coverage as Don Brown makes the completion and a 17-yard gain. 1st and 10 at the 34-yard line. Starting to get a little sharper.
Yeah, needed to get the timeout there as Tom Waddle was sent deep so that Kelvin Martin could come underneath. Trying to get that defensive secondary backpedaling. And good blocking now by the offensive line of Boston College. True, they're only having to block against 4 rushers for Maryland, but they're still giving Halloran the time that he needs.
That is the first time charged against Boston College.
Take a look, and also Kenny Bell stays in for Shawn Halloran to give him the time. Underneath, Kelvin Martin takes the turn in. Behind him was Tom Waddle, who took the right corner back a little bit deeper. There's Waddle coming in.
49 seconds to play here in the first half. I'm going to do a quick check of the records. I don't think that's right, Kyle. I'm going to check that. I think it's 2. Yeah, that's right. 2 timeouts the Eagles have taken. John Mahalik has come in now, so they get another power running back for Boston College to replace the tailback annex of Jim Bell. Gieselman has come in for Casparello. Casparello is a young guy that got attacked by bees on Tuesday of this week, didn't he?
Take a look at the first downs now. Pretty even there, and Casparello not one to enjoy any of the movies that feature the killer bees at all.
Oh boy, you drew that one out for me.
Yeah.
Waddle and Kelvin Martin, wide outs to the far side. Man in the slot. Halloran rolls behind the block. Good pressure. Underthrows, and it was out of bounds. Intercepted, but out of bounds. Steve Kelly, a linebacker, dropping out on the coverage on the far side. Well, they're dropping those outside linebackers into the short zones on the outside to cover those out patterns.
Well, particularly with the clock moving down. We saw last week that Maryland not doing quite as good a job against Penn State, covering on the outside patterns with time going away, but Maryland doing a good job today.
Scott Tye has come out, hurt the leg, and Dwayne Dunham has replaced him. Martin and Waddle are in. Halloran is 7 for 14 in passing, as you saw moments ago. Halloran. And the big front rush of Maryland, 6'3", Neal Sampson, knocked the ball away, and before anyone could get to it, it fell to the ground. Jack Bicknell, well, he earns his pay, doesn't he? Sure he wasn't a flagman during the Second World War? Gieselman is in. Casparello is out.
Look, it's the height of some of those defensive linemen. That's why it's so important to have big guys. One reason why they think Mike Ruth will have to be a questionable pro prospect, because Ruth, a little over 6 feet.
3rd down and 10 on the 35-yard line. 2 for 6 on 3rd down conversions, Boston College. Flutie, 15, out of bounds at the 13-yard line. Keita, Covington, and Don Brown rode him out of bounds, but time is not an ally.
Another look as Shawn Halloran drops back, looks over the middle. The release, the safety valve is Darren Flutie, and Flutie's a tremendous safety valve as an outstanding wide receiver. And moves the ball down, gets out of bounds to stop the clock. Still one timeout left for Boston College.
Flutie has 42 yards. Waddle and Martin are split out to the far side. Halloran to throw. Good protection. He had Casparello, and he overthrew him. Pressure by Shankweiler finally on Halloran. And his offensive line doing a good job. Trapilo, Wolf, Gowetski, Twombly, and Shawn Regent. Boy, they have some talented kids down there in the field. Names you don't hear much about. Gieselman is in. Casparello is out. Tight ends. In case you're wondering, BC, one timeout, Maryland 3. Out of the eye, Waddle and Martin. Martin in motion. Touchdown! Kelvin Martin.
On the replay, you'll see Maryland finally tires of just sending 4. They decide to blitz a little bit. And Halloran on the backside hits Kelvin Martin coming across. Here's another look. Get a little stun inside. There you see the Maryland players trying to put some pressure. Single coverage for Kelvin Martin. Speedy, good jumping ability. And Kelvin Martin, who scored that first touchdown in the Cotton Bowl last year from Doug Flutie, that 63-yarder, scores the first one here today against Maryland.
Ken Kanzler comes in for the extra point, and he pumps it through the uprights. So with 20 seconds remaining in the half, a young man who just got the call today for the first time, inexperienced, first time ever, Kanzler adds the extra point, and it's 10-7 Maryland with 20 seconds to play in the first half. Lots of excitement here at Sullivan Stadium now. Many people thought Maryland would come in here and blow Boston College away. So much at stake. National rankings, perhaps a national championship. Pick number 1 by one national magazine. Anywhere from 1 to 18 in the polls. Boston College with a 1-1 start after losing to BYU, shaky to Temple. And Maryland with the endorsement of Sport Magazine coming in here on a loss 20-18 to Penn State. Figured, hey, we've got to go in there, get the jump, and waste Boston College. But the Eagles have hung in here on the benefit of a lot of penalties by Maryland, and have now come back to strike with only 20 seconds remaining in the first half.
Well, they didn't give up, and that was the important thing, because Maryland was able to obtain possession of the ball 4 times in Boston College territory. Boston College field position, on the other hand, has never been really good. The nearest they've had to the Maryland goal line has been 67 yards. Their best pickup has been on their own 33-yard line.
David Rooney will kick. He's a left-footed kicker. Keita Covington in the end zone with the wind behind, and time now rolling. Covington to the 20, to the 30, dancing, and down to the 34. Eric Lindstrom, sophomore linebacker. But Keita Covington gave him a thrill if you're a Maryland fan, and gave him a scare if you're for BC. There's your time of possession, your scoring drive. 3 minutes and 45 seconds, 11 plays and 76 yards. Martin on the 13-yard pass play from Shawn Halloran, a touchdown. And now with 9 seconds remaining in the half, Holder and Abdur Rauf are the wideouts for Maryland. Gelbaugh to pass. Turnout, man was open, couldn't get there. Abdur Rauf, the intended receiver, and they had coverage by